Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is Simon Christopher. I'm the chair of the Western and Southern Area Planning Committee, and I welcome you to the committee meeting on this, the Thursday, the 7th of May. So, before we begin, what I'd like to do, I would like to ask the officers who are going to participate in this afternoon's meeting to identify themselves, please. Starting with Darren Rogers.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chairman and committee members. Yes, I'm here, thank you.
Good. Anne Collins.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. I'm present.
Good afternoon. Phil Criver, Legal Officer.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members. I'm here.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you very much indeed. Next, I would like to take a roll call of the committee members who are present this afternoon, starting alphabetically with Pete Barrow.
Good afternoon, Chair. I'm here.
Good afternoon, Pete. Kelvin Clayton.
Present and correct, sir.
Thank you, Kelvin. Sue Cocking.
Yes, I'm here.
Jean Dunseed.
Yes, I'm here, Chair.
Councillor David Gray.
Good afternoon, Simon. Yes, I'm present.
Councillor Nick Ireland.
I'm here. Thank you.
Councillor Louis O'Leary.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you, Louis. Councillor David Shortell. Do we have David?
Present and correct, Chairman.
Thank you, David. Councillor Sarah Williams.
Good afternoon, Simon.
Good afternoon, Sarah. And Councillor Kate Weller.
Good afternoon, Chairman, committee.
Good afternoon, Kate. Right, so we have no apologies, which is item number 1. Item number 2, do we have any declarations of interest in respect of this afternoon's meeting?
No.
Right, moving on to item number 3, the minutes of the previous meeting. Seems a little while ago now, on Thursday the 20th of February. Now, you've all had the opportunity to look at those minutes, and can I ask anyone if there are any additions or amendments? In the absence of any additions or amendments, I invite somebody to propose the adoption of those minutes and somebody to second.
I'll propose, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Gray. Do we have a seconder?
I'm happy to second.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, in the absence of any dissent, I'm going to take those minutes as formally agreed. Thank you. Public participation, you will have seen the note. Members of the public wishing to submit a written representation to the committee on a planning application that is dealt with today should have notified the Democratic Service Officer that was listed on the front of the agenda, and this had to be done at least 2 days before today's meeting. And I also draw those listening to the Guide to Public Speaking of Public Planning Committee, and specifically the COVID-19 pandemic addendum to Guide to Public Speaking Protocol for Planning Committee meetings. So this afternoon we're going to listen to the applications that have come to committee. I will then ask you in turn alphabetically for your comments, and any responses will be given by the case officer. You will then have a second opportunity to query anything that has been said previously by other members, etc. And then if people want to perhaps speak for a third time, there is of course the use of the chat box. So without further ado, I will move on to item 5A, application number WD/D20-00109, Woodrow School, Up Lyme Road, Lyme Regis, DT73LX. Erect new school building with associated landscaping. And our case officer is Darren Rogers.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll run through the. Thank you. I'll run through the presentation for you. This is as you say, agenda item 1, which is the Woodruff School, a new school building with associated landscaping. For those that know the Lyme Regis area well, this is the Woodruff School complex located here. This is the Up Lyme Road. For those that know the area well, there is an area here called the Buzz Bay to school children, where obviously all the buses use the lay-by in order to drop the children off, and access to the school complex is this access here that winds its way into the school grounds. The school tennis court area is located here, and this large building here is the school sports hall, and it's essentially between the tennis court and the school sports hall building that this planning application relates. The red area obviously marking the spot. There are some residential properties at a much higher level to the west of the school complex, and they are located, as you can see with my arrow, located here. And then the wider school complex of buildings incorporates all of these buildings here. This is an aerial shot. So this is the Up Lyme Road on the where my arrow is marking the spot here. The access is this vehicular access that winds its way from Up Lyme Road into a car parking area. This is where the existing school tennis courts are. These are the wider school complex buildings. This building here is the drama building, and these are the existing school sports hall structures. And it's this area here that we're focusing on in terms of today's planning application. And those are these other residential properties which are at a much higher level and set way back from the boundaries of the school because of the sloping nature of the site. Here are some photographs a bit more close up. So this is the existing school sports hall complex building. Those are those dwellings set further and way back that you can see located there. This is part of the wider school complex with the drama building, and here are the tennis courts, and on the right hand side you can see the steps that lead up to the school sports hall complex building, and it's in this area here to which we are dealing with this planning application. That shows the school sports hall. Here's the tennis court area. There's the pedestrianised link, and it's in this area here within the school confines of the wider grounds that the application is or has been submitted. This is the proposed site layout plan. So the tennis courts are located here. That access, in terms of the access steps I just indicated on the previous slide, is here. And this will be a two-storey, principally a two-storey building, but because of the sloping nature of the site, it's single-storey set at the rear of it. And this is where the existing school sports hall building is located. So it's sandwiched between those two. Here are the elevations. So you can see here as a ghost the school sports hall complex. This is the two-storey extension, new build, should I say, with various red bricks that the external materials would comprise of. Those are detailed in the report. And this is a cross-section drawing which shows the main two-storey element of the building. And as I explained earlier, because of the sloping nature of the site, it would be single-storey at the back. And you can see the ghost of the drama building and the ghost of the other school complex buildings located here. Those houses are way up to the left-hand side of this particular cross-section drawing. And again, this is the rear elevation. So it's principally single story. There's the drama ghost building, for want of a better description, to the left hand side. And this is the other end of the building that shows the two-story sloping upwards to a single story. And then there's the ghost again of the school sports hall complex that you can see. Here's the lower ground floor plan, which is the kind of a library resource centre that's proposed with kind of ancillary office and lobby and stair accommodation. At the upper ground level, you've got the teaching classrooms themselves, again with some ancillary structures and stairwells. And notwithstanding the fact that this is not readily visible from major public realm aspects, it is intended to set off this building with some hard and soft landscaping proposals within the school complex itself. There's the drama studio block, the main Woodruff school block is here, the sports hall is here, and as you come into the entrance to it, there will be a hell of a lot of soft and hard landscaping that's proposed, and there's the tennis courts just located here. Cross-section drawing, chairman and members, which shows the two-storey element and then the single-storey element set against the ghost of the drama club building and the existing school buildings located here. And this always helps in terms of officers and members of the public interpreting exactly what's proposed. Here's a 3D visualisation of the proposal in situ. This is the school sports hall complex, the drama club building, the rest of the existing buildings with the tennis court in front, and it's all been designed with accessibility in mind for those less able. And that's the elevation set at the rear. So there's the tennis courts. This is the school sports hall complex, single story set at the back. This is where the hard and soft landscaping will primarily take place. And there's the main two-story part of the building. Key planning points, Chairman, are that, as is the case with the whole of Lyme Regis as the town, it's in an AONB, Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty, and bearing in mind that this will be set within the school grounds, it's considered the design and the general visual impact in relation to the AONB in the context of those wider school grounds is an acceptable one. There's not considered to be any significant harm to residential amenity, bearing in mind the location of where the nearest houses are in relation to the proposal. There's no nature conservation adverse effects, and the applicant, being the council in this instance, has gone through our Dorset Natural Environment team in terms of getting the appropriate certification for ecology matters. No land stability considerations, bearing in mind it is the council's own application, who are fully aware of land stability issues in and around the Lyme area, and therefore, Chairman, there's not considered to be any further other material considerations which would warrant refusal of the application. So I'll just reveal that last visualisation and keep that on screen, Chairman, just so that you can ensure that you see exactly what the scheme is for. And these final slides indicate a repeat of what's in your agenda papers in terms of the recommendation, which is to grant permission subject to the standard 3 years, the plans list, details of materials to be submitted and approved, it being carried out in accordance with the various tree and ecology reports that we've received, as well as the landscaping. There's an hours of construction condition that's been recommended, as well as, because of land stability, surface water being discharged to a pipe drainage system, Chairman. So on that basis, it's recommended for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Before we move on to members, it's been pointed out to me, I didn't ask if there are any other officers present today, anybody from Dorset Highways to identify themselves. Nobody from Highways, right, that is fine. So we will now move on and ask Councillor Pete Barrow whether he has any comments to make.
Thank you, Chair. No, I have no comments to make.
Okay, thank you very much. Kelvin Clayton, any comments?
No, I can't think of any reason to object or any sensible question to ask, to be quite honest.
Thank you, Kevin. Sue Cocking?
No, I have no comments or questions to ask at this time.
Jean Dunseith? Do you have any comments to make, Jean?
Sorry, Chairman. Yes, I know this is on a slope, and it is mentioned several times about the instability of the land, possibly, although there is nothing in the recommendation that would go against it. But I think it is something to be borne in mind. And also in 8.4, it does mention contaminated land in view of previous use of this site, and I couldn't find any reference to what this contaminated land might be. Did the officers have any comments?
Yes, Mr. Rogers, would you like to make any comments?
Yes, Chairman. Para 8.3, you'll see that tech services with regards to land stability have got no objections. There was a land stability report that was submitted and tech services have got no objections to that. In terms of the environmental health comment, I think that they do a general sweep of usually about a 50 or 100 metre radius from the site, and if there's any land contaminating sites nearby, and I know that the old railway line into Lyme Regis, which has now been developed by I think the council's industrial units, that might have been the land to which the contaminated land referred to. But as I'll come back to the point that our property services people and the council's education authority are fully aware of any issues to do with land contamination, and you'll see in para 8.4, Chairman, that I've suggested that could be covered by an informative note. It is us that are planning to develop this application or proposal, and on that basis, Chairman, we didn't feel it necessary to be over restricted in terms of attaching a planning condition, but simply an informative note.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers, as well. Thank you, Jean. Moving on to Councillor David Gray.
No comments about the application, Chair. Just by way of comment, though, on the presentation, I found the visualisations really good, and I'd encourage planning officers to use more visualisations in the future. I found it very good, Darren, so thank you for that.
Thank you, David. Councillor Nick Ireland.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. No comments.
Thank you. Louis O'Leary.
Thank you, Chairman. No comments from me. I'm happy to propose it if we can take proposals now.
Thank you, David Shortell. Do you have any comments, David?
Thank you, Chairman. No, I haven't got any comments as such. I just congratulate the officer on a very excellent report, and I'll second it if no one stands so.
That's good. We have a proposer and a seconder. Sarah Williams.
I have no comments to make, Chair.
Good, thank you, Sarah. Councillor Kate Weller.
Thank you, Chairman. No, I think that was an excellent presentation. I have only one point to ask, and it would be possible for that flat area of roof to be a green roof. That's all. Otherwise, I'm very happy with the application.
Mr. Rogers, would you like to make a comment on that?
You have the application before you, Chairman. I think you ought to determine what is before you, and it's something that it's something that I can suggest to our property and education people that was a comment made, but it's certainly something that we would obviously be recommending refusal of at this stage.
Yes, just to share a little bit of knowledge there, there was mention of the old railway line, which actually stands on lower ground to the school. And in terms of the elevations, the old Rosler block, the rising of the school leaving age block, actually stands on higher ground, I would point out. So if I'm to just go down through the list, Councillor Pete Barrow, are you in favour?
Yes, Chair, in favour.
Thank you. Kelvin, in favour?
Yes. Yes.
Sue Cocking?
Yes, in favour.
Jean Dunseith?
Yes, definitely in favour.
Councillor Nick Ireland?
Yes, in favour.
Councillor Louis O'Leary?
Yes, in favour.
Councillor David Shortell? In
Yes,
favour?
in favour, Chairman.
Seconded. Sarah Williams?
In favour.
Kate Weller? Kate, are you in favour of this application? Kate?
Chairman.
Okay, 4, and I'm in favour as well. So if we can
Chair, you missed me out.
David, I was just coming back to you.
I'm in favour.
David?
I'm in favour.
Good. Okay, and if we can just confirm Denise Hunt.
That was unanimous vote, Chairman.
All right, you've captured that. Good. Thank you very much. Right, so I confirm that this application has duly been determined. We now move on to the next item, item 5B, application number WD/D/19/003024, Winsham Bridge, Winsham. And the case officer again is Darren Rogers.
Thank you, Chairman and members. This is an application that we rarely get. It's not an application for planning permission. It's not an application for listed building consent. It's a lawful development certificate application actually seeking a determination as to whether listed building consent is required or not. These lawful development certificates are based on whether the proposal is considered to be lawful and therefore not need a listed building consent, or not lawful and need a listed building consent. The bridge itself, Chairman, is a listed building, and on the site location plan you can see that the red area relates to half of the bridge. The bridge does straddle the boundary between Dorset and South Somerset. The river, the centre of the river, is the border between the two districts, and that's because, for obvious reasons, from a planning point of view, we can't consider or determine a planning application or listed building consent or even this type of application on land that doesn't fall within our district boundary. This is an aerial photograph of the bridge itself, which you can barely see because of the resolution. But this is the London Waterloo to Exeter railway line to the south. So this is the border at the bridge itself. And the village just to the north is Winsham, hence this being called Winsham Bridge. But Winsham itself is located in South Somerset. These are some photographs of the bridge. This is from Dorset looking towards Somerset. You'll see how generally low the bridge walls are either side. And the next slide shows the bridge from Somerset looking towards Dorset. You can see the bridge and its coping walls either side of the bridge there. These are the existing elevations of the bridge, an arched bridgeway with the, it's probably about 1 metre high walls either side of it. And effectively what the application is for is lots of repairs and maintenance of the bridge. These are the proposed elevations with various notes outlining that mortar will be repaired, etc. But what's also proposed as well are these mesh gabion mattresses in the riverbed to help support the foundations, etc. of the bridge itself and to improve the riverbed itself. And as part and parcel of the installation of those mattresses, some temporary dam works will be required in order to ensure that the mattresses can be installed whilst not affecting the water course. This is a plan view, so these areas here are the wall abutments themselves, as you can see, with the roadway, and you've got the upstream location here and the downstream located here. And that's a cross-section drawing, Chairman, which shows the roadway where they're planning to just clear out all the accumulated dirt from either sides of the road, and you can see it's just only 800 millimeters high there, 1.12 meters as we come closer to this little nib on either side of the walls. So the main consideration here, Chairman, is, as I said earlier, it's not a planning application or a listed building consent application, despite the fact that the building or the structure is listed. It's a determination as to whether actually listed building consent is required. Now, as you can see from the agenda papers, we've consulted Conservation Officer, who considers that the proposals in terms of the repair and maintenance of those bridges of the bridge is lawful for listed building control purposes, and this particular aspect of making an application was introduced under section 61 of the Enterprise and Regulatory Reform Act of 2013. And if the local planning authority concludes that the works are lawful as not affecting the character of the listed building as one of special architectural or historic interest, then the proposals are lawful and no listed building consent is required. And conversely, if we feel that they do affect the building as one of special or architectural interest, then it just means that an application for listed building consent is required. And given consultation with your conservation officer, as is set out in the report, we consider that the works in total would not affect the character of the listed building. They are effectively repair and maintenance works, and therefore the proposals would be lawful. Now, that you would think is the end of the matter, but it is slightly complicated. Back to the slide, on the basis that we can only, from a planning point of view, determine an application within the Dorset patch. Unlike property services and our bridges officers, who have this, for want of a better description, you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours, approach to bridges where they cross district authorities. Where bridges cross, for example, the borders with Devon and Dorset, then in some instances Devon look after the bridges. This is an instance where the bridge crosses between Dorset and South Somerset, and we as a council look after the whole of the bridge, including that bit from a maintenance point of view that covers South Somerset, and there'll be various other arrangements at other bridge crossings across the county. What we've done in this instance, Chairman, is we have written to or emailed the development management team at South Somerset, and we've sought to try and get South Somerset's as an authority to delegate their planning powers to us, so that we can effectively deal with issuing a lawful development certificate and a location plan that covers the whole of the bridge. But to date, and as I report to you verbally now, we've not had confirmation of that agreement. Now, that's not fatal at all, because we can still issue the certificate for the bit that falls into Dorset's patch, and I have at length spoken to the bridges officer who has submitted the application, who's fully aware that if we don't get and haven't got that delegated authority from South Somerset, that they will submit an almost identical application to South Somerset, but obviously just covering that portion of the bridge that falls into South Somerset's area. And that's why, Chairman, in terms of the recommendation that's on screen and set out in the agenda papers, you'll see there's two recommendations, because we were hoping that we would get that delegated authority, and we haven't. I mean, we could theoretically leave it another week, but I'm recommending in particular, Chairman, that we do issue a lawful development certificate for these works that fall within our area only, because we consider that the proposals, being largely repair and maintenance works, don't affect the character of the listed building as one of special architectural or historic interest, and therefore the works would be lawful. And recommendation B was there purely and simply in the hope that between now, or between when the application report was made and today's committee, that we may well have received something from South Somerset delegating their planning powers to us to issue a certificate over the whole bridge, but that's not been forthcoming. So the recommendation for A primarily stands, Chairman.
Okay, thank you for your explanation of the recommendations in particular and the presentation of the case. I understand that we haven't, again, in respect of this application, received any written representations for today's meeting. So we will now please hear from Pete Barrow. Peter, do you have any comments to make?
Thank you, Chair. No comments or questions to make, just an observation, another good presentation for what is quite a complicated application. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Turning now to Kelvin Clayton.
No, again, I will echo the comments about the presentation, and as regards comments, I think I'm more than happy to go with officers' recommendations on this.
Thank you, Kelvin. Sue Cocking?
No, I have no comments about this presentation or application.
Jean Dunseith, any comments to make?
Yes, Chairman. Just one.
Thank you, Jean.
When is it envisaged that the remedial work would be done on the bridge?
I'll Mr. Rogers to comment on that, please.
Chairman, as the planning officer, rather than we haven't got an officer who's promoting this from the Bridges section present, Chairman. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question.
No problem, Chairman. No problem. No, I'm fine with it. It's we don't want to get into a position where we would be accused of invading Somerset, do we? So I suppose it's a matter of waiting for their certificate to come through. Thank you, Chairman.
I don't think we've formally done that since 1685, but there we are. Councillor David Gray.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Darren, just a query really about waiting for permission from South Somerset. I'm assuming that, I'm coming at this from a cost point of view, I'm assuming that work will not start on half the bridge until we get the other half's permission, because obviously there would be additional costs. So can you just confirm that we'll wait to get full permissions before starting the work?
Mr. Rogers, do you want to explain about work on bridges?
Well, I'll try. I mean, from our point of view, if members agree this today, we can issue the certificate, but only in relation to the location plan that covers that part of the bit that's in Dorset. As I said, the gentleman or officer, should I say, in the bridges section is fully aware of the need to make effectively an identical application, albeit for that portion that's in South Somerset's patch, and therefore he's aware that he's not going to be able to implement contractors to do the repair works until a lawful development certificate has come back from South Somerset that covers their patch, because he will already have had half the jigsaw puzzle from Dorset's patch. So yes, I mean, members can be assured that I would think that you know, in terms of costs, that our bridges section are not going to authorise contractors to just go out and do half the work, whilst waiting for the other consent or lawful development certificate to come through, and we'll wait for the two pieces to have knitted together before the work starts.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Councillor Nick Ireland.
No comments, Chairman.
Councillor Louis O'Leary.
No comment, Chairman. I'm happy to propose this accepted again as well.
Thank you very much, Louis. Thank you for that proposal. Councillor David Shortell.
I'm quite happy, Chairman. No comments.
Right. Thank you. Sarah Williams.
I'm quite happy with the application, and I'm happy to second the recommendation A.
Okay, thank you for seconding that. Councillor Kate Weller. Kate?
I have no comments, and I am for the proposal.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So looking at the two recommendations together, I'm just going to go down through the list so that Denise Hunt can capture the result accurately. Pete Barrow, are you in favour?
Yeah, in favour.
Kelvin? Clayton, are you in favour?
Yeah, yes, in favour.
Susan Cocking, in favour. Are you in favour, Sue? Hello, Sue.
Oh, in favour.
Thank you. Jean Dunseith. In favour. Nick Ireland.
Yes, in favour, Chairman.
Louis O'Leary proposed. David Shortell.
I'm in favour, Chairman.
Yeah, Sarah Williams was the seconder. Kate Weller.
For.
And I'm in favour as well. So I think, Denise, you can probably record that as unanimous.
Chair, it's Anne Collins here. Just to
Hello,
be clear,
Anne.
just to be clear, is that in respect of recommendation A, that the lawful development certificate be issued only in respect of the works falling within the Dorset Council area?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chairman, I didn't capture Councillor David Gray's.
David?
In favour, Chair.
Thank you, David.
So that's anonymously for the proposal, Chairman.
Thank you. Item number 6, urgent items. Do we have any urgent items to consider? Any items of business? We have no prior notification of any urgent items pursuant to section 100B 4B of the Local Government Act 1972. Do we have any exempt business?
Chairman, it's Anne Collins. Anne Collins. No, we don't.
We have no exempt business. Right. Okay. Well, I declare the meeting closed, and I believe we reconvene on the 28th day of May.